Very good.
There.
What we'll do is we'll take the recording, we'll put that onto our district YouTube channel so we can all take a look at it afterwards.
Perfect. All right. So whenever I'm editing any of the sites, I like to have the live site kind of over here so you get a sense of the lay of the land. Now, all of these pages up here, of which there are many, are content pages. So when we refer to the content pages, that's what we're going to be referring to. The other types of content that you have within Club Runner are event listings, which get posted to the event calendar, and news stories. So they happen to come into here, and then they can be used in the bulletin or newsletters, whichever term you want to use as well. So you kind of have three main types of content. So think of them as each in their own buckets. The general content pages tend to be fairly static most of the time. Obviously, the home page is the exception to that. But most of them, once you get them all set up, they don't change a whole lot. The news items, however, will be what you see flashing before your eyes here, are anything that has happened generally in the past, or things that might be coming up that you want to draw particular attention to. Those things would be obviously check presentations, grants, anything coming available for scholarships or anything like that as far as the district is concerned. Perhaps any major fundraisers that the clubs are doing that you want to draw general attention to within the district would be in there. Events are anything forward-facing that have a date associated to them. So you can actually say this is happening, February 14th is our Valentine's draw campaign gala, whatever. So kind of think of all the content in that way. When you first log into Club Runner, you'll see a screen that is very similar to this. This is called your dashboard. Your dashboard has your main menu items in this turquoise blue bar, and then it loads up sub-menu items in this light gray bar. Always like to draw attention to this fact because this main area doesn't change. So I've had a few people say, well, wait a minute, it's not working. Well, it is working. You just need to pick two tiers of options. We'll have an example here. New website beta is the new content editor for Club Runner. I clicked on it, didn't look like a whole lot changed, except this little sub-menu now in the gray bar. This now gives me the ability to edit the home page, create a brand new content page, or edit one of the existing pages. So from here, I'm going to select the home page designer. As this loads up, you'll see that we have a visual representation on the left side of what the site looks like over here on the live side. All of these areas we can mouse over and edit. Some of them are simple text blocks that you just go in and start typing. Just like Microsoft Word, the text blocks have editing tools up here, including changing the color if you want to go crazy, bold, italics, bulleted lists, all the standard stuff. Different types of content have different options, as you would expect. An image has a different set of options than a text block would have. The events have different parameters than a text block would have. So depending on what you want to edit, very similar process, mouse over and click on it, and it will then load up the set of parameters that are appropriate for that particular piece of content. There we go. So for that one, I just clicked on the events. It gives me a list of what events I want to include in that module. Okay. All right. Now, any of the pieces of content can be not only edited, but moved around. Club Runner, you can probably just barely see it, has a universal icon or symbol for you can move this. It is a series of dots, and it's typically on the left-hand side. You will see these dots in your navigation menu items where you can drag and drop them into new positions. You'll see them in the news or stories posts that you can actually circumvent the chronological posting and drag them into new positions. And of course, we can drag content into new positions. So the page is set up in a rows and column structure, and I can drag and drop this content anywhere different on the page. This content, whatever it is, be it an image or a text block, will automatically reformat to the space that we're putting it into. So if it's a large image and it's going into a skinny column, it will automatically keep the proportions of that image for the smaller column. No need to pre-edit in Photoshop or anything like that. Likewise, regarding mobile responsiveness, these three icons are at the top of each editing page, and they give you the ability to check how this page is stacking up in mobile versions. Okay. Simply click Edit to go back to the page editor that you were working on. Now, that's the left-hand side. The right-hand side, as you probably noticed, has three different tabs here at the top. We're actually going to start over here with the layouts. Now, the layouts tab is the physical infrastructure for the page. So the physical structure of rows, and then columns within the rows, and then pieces of content within those columns. And as you can see, if I zoom in a little bit here, these have all sorts of different layouts for 3 columns, 2 columns, 1/3, 2/3 columns, 1/2 columns, all sorts of different things. So if you wanted to change the physical layout of the page you're working on, you would simply click on a new one. It shuffles the content around, and then you can drag and drop it into this new infrastructure that you've got. You do not need to use the same structure or layout consistently throughout the site. You can use this one on the home page and then this one on the about page, and really use a different one on every page if you want to. You're not stuck with one. Next tab is called Themes, and you don't have to touch that. That's the overall color scheme structure of the site template, if you will. The last one is where all the goodies are. That's the Content tab. This is all of the individual pieces of content, be they images, sliders, icons, headers, all those types of things that you can drag and drop into your page. They are categorized fairly intuitively. Pull it down and it gives you all of the pieces of content within that category. So the first one is just your general images, buttons, text blocks, even text columns if you want to do 3 columns of text or pictures, things like that. The one after that is called Essentials. The Essentials are things that are loaded into Club Runner elsewhere, and it pulls them in. Very similar to a WordPress widget, if you will. So if you have your, let's see, my favorite example isn't on the district site because it's the club executive, but let's see if there's a president's message here. Oh, I can't see it. Okay. Well, these are all, oh dear. These are all things that you would enter into Club Runner somewhere else, such as the Stories module is another good example, and it will automatically pull onto this page. The nice thing about that is that if you've used this widget on multiple pages, it will update on all pages when you update it up at the top level. As I said, my favorite example is the club executive for the club sites. So once a year, you change your club executive. You might be using that widget on 2 or 3 different pages within your site. In this case, you would go in, change your executive in one spot, and those changes will flow out to all 3 of those pages that you've used that widget on. So very helpful in that. The next is simply your image carousel here. Most typically used on your home page, but you can have an image carousel on any page within the site. And you don't have to have it in the header, although that's the most typical place. You can also use this to create a rotating carousel of images, like a photo gallery. So if you had, say, a district gala and you had someone take a whole bunch of pictures, you could create this nice rotating photo gallery with this dynamic carousel. Links and events are fairly self-explanatory. Bulletin and public relations is all of your newsy type stuff, but you also have your sponsors in here as well. So you have a few different options between rotating sponsor logos with links to their websites, or you can stack them all down as well. For club sites especially, this can be a really helpful way to subsidize your site or some of your fundraising activities by getting corporate people involved, and then you give them a little bit giving back with their logo being displayed and links to their website. You also have your RSS feed, which is a news feed that you pull in from elsewhere. I'm not sure if we're using that for Rotary International, no, but that's the most typical news feed that you would pull in is the Rotary International news. And then every time they update on their end, it automatically updates with this widget here. So for clubs that are really struggling to keep their content current, that can be something really helpful because it automatically updates with RI's news. Things are always looking kind of fresh and new on the site, even though they don't have a lot going on their own. Finally, we have these two last sections called Custom Widgets Global and Custom Widgets Page Specific. Now, these are your catch-all type content pieces. With these, you can embed any kind of code. The most typical would be a YouTube video. So you go to YouTube, you click the share button, and it spits out a whole bunch of gobbledygook that makes no sense to anyone, but it tells you to copy it. So you copy it, and then you can paste it into one of these widgets, and it will show that YouTube video within your site. Some other examples for this use is Google Forms, Vimeo, obviously, basically anything that gives you an iframe or an embed code. Now, why two different ones? Well, it's kind of important. So the global widgets are used on multiple pages, and if you update one on any page, it will update all of them. Application for this would be if you have a series of pages within your department, say you're in charge of the Rotary Foundation, but you have a whole bunch of pages under your portfolio of work, right? So you've got your application forms, you've got your rules and regulations, maybe you have past grant recipients, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to have one common sidebar with links on all of your different pages, you don't want to have to go back and update 5 different pages if a link changes. You want to be able to change it once. So that would be where you would use your global custom widget on all of those pages. Then you update once and it flows out to all of those different pages. The page specific one though is for that page only. So if you get mixed up and use the wrong one, you might find that you're changing, perhaps you've used it to put a header image on a page. If you use the global one by accident, you're going to find that you have that same header image on 5 or 6 different pages. The proper application of that would be to use the page specific widget instead. That way, if you change it on the one page, it will not change anywhere else. Okay. All right. Any questions thus far? No? Good so far? Okay. So one of the absolutely lovely things about the new version of Club Runner is the ability to change any of the templated areas from any of the existing pages within the site. So I'm on the home page right now. I want to edit the navigation menu. Right from here, I can click on that. I can also edit the logo, and I can edit the footer as well. Any changes here will change throughout the entire site. So change it in one spot, off you go, done. The navigation menu used to be at least 6 clicks deep, if not more, to get to it in the old system. Very cumbersome and time consuming. So with this one, mouse over it, click on it, takes me directly to the navigation menu, which correlates to what we've got up here. I can make any changes here. Again, flows everywhere throughout the site. And then I can click go back and it will take me directly back to the page that I was just working on. So in that way, you can be much more efficient with your editing, which is great. Now, from here, we're going to go to the content pages within the site. So as soon as Club Runner loads up here, a little bit slow today, I see. Come on. Let's try kickstarting it here. There we go. Sometimes it just gets sleepy. All right, so we're going to edit some of the content pages now. So again, that's all of these different pages we have here. And some of you may be editing them already on the district site as part of your portfolio. So we go to new website beta. Now we're going to go in this gray bar to our custom page library. This contains a library of the pages that we currently have on the site. So if we look at, well, we could look at any of them. Let's look at the newsletters. There is a little drop down arrow here. From here, we have the ability to copy an existing page. So if you want to make a brand new page with exactly the same font, size of header, everything like that, you simply need to copy an existing. So that can be a really great way of building out content. In this case, we'll just click on open and we'll see what's going on here. So this is one of the pages on our site. As you can see, it's very, very similar to the homepage layout. You've got everything on the left-hand side, mouse over anything and edit. You also have all of your content pieces here on the right that you can drag and drop in to expand upon what you've got. Here's a good example of one of the essentials widget content pieces. This is a pull from all of the bulletins or newsletters. So as soon as a new newsletter is posted, it will automatically show on this page by default without anyone having to touch this page because it's pulling in a feed of all of the newsletters. As you will see at the top, we have all the same mobile responsiveness options to double check it and the ability to edit any of the templated areas. Now, the one extra that the content pages have is this properties tab. And as Club Runner gets better, because they seem to be laying an infrastructure for something, this will be more and more important. And I think that that infrastructure that they're laying down is for this owner name here. You can attribute this page to a particular editor within the district site. So what I did for 7090 is I attributed all of the, say, foundation pages to Sandy Shard. So she is the owner of all of those pages. There's like 7 or 8 of them. And then I think in the future, only Sandy will have the ability to edit those pages unless you're a super admin. To my knowledge, it's not quite there yet, but I think that that's kind of the permissions granular basis that Club Runner is starting to set up with their club software. So that is really, really handy. And I think going forward, that will be great for district sites. There's also an access level here. And this is how you create a password protected page. So the individual user would have to log in to their Club Runner account first, then they would be able to see the content on this page. Otherwise, if the access level is public, anyone in the world can view what is on this page. And let me make note while I'm here, you can also change the access level on documents that you upload. So if you're uploading, we got burned for this in our district recently. If you're uploading contact information, like a PDF of everyone's major contact stuff, you can make that a private document so that a general public person can't access it. Only Rotarians can access that. The other aspect in the Properties tab for each page is the page title. More importantly, the ability to hide the page title. And I'll show you why we want to do that. So Club Runner by default puts the page title above the full width image, which looks pretty silly if you ask me. So when we're creating a new page, we'll just hide that page title. Click Save, and there we go. Now we can customize the layout the way we want it to be. The Publish button, just like the home page, is on the top right corner. This pushes the changes live to the internet, usually right away. The odd time, Club Runner will have a bit of a cache or a delay issue. So just refresh your browser. Normally doesn't take more than a couple of minutes, but don't panic, you didn't do anything wrong. It's probably just in the cache, so that can exist. All right, so we can edit any of the existing pages. We can also create a brand new page. So to do that, we would either clone one of our existing pages, or we can click Create New Page. This gives us a template library that Club Runner has created of all different layouts and colors for pages. Now, most of the content is actually fairly legitimate content. So I'm going to do an example here right in the middle. So if we select our history of Rotary, it says click to select. All right. Then it says click next to continue. Well, if you're like me, you're in the middle of the page looking around and you don't see next to continue. You actually have to scroll all the way up to the top, and next to continue is way up here in the right. So I will admit I lost a few minutes of work time trying to find that next to continue when I first started. So I always like to point that out. Now, we picked a template. We were given exactly the same layout, content, everything that we saw in the preview. So now we're building on a brand new page to our site. This one about the history of Rotary, but really we could just use this layout and copy and paste in all of our real content. So replace pictures, replace text with whatever we want it to be. In this case, we'll just use this one. So we have our title here. Well, we want to put a picture in there. So the first thing we'll do is hide our page title. Now, with that gone, we can drag an image onto the page. There we go. It loads in a stand-in image, and then I just click on it to be taken to my media library. Now, this is a library of all of the pictures that we have used so far on the site. So as you'll see, by default, it loads chronologically, newest to oldest, and you can scroll through, and there's a whole whack of them. You can also add folders so that you can kind of categorize your content better. And whenever you've got something that you want to add, let me see what I can find in here easily. I'm looking for something skinny. Let's just go with this one. It's just an example. Okay, so you would double click on it and there it goes. Now, obviously, I would normally want something that's long and skinny and full width for the top of the page, but this will do for our example purposes. I don't want a caption, so I'm just going to click on that and delete that. If something is not there in Club Runner, as you'll see down here as well, we have empty rows. It will simply not show them at all. You're not going to have this weird zebra pattern at the bottom of the page of blues. So don't worry about that. Now we've got a couple of pieces of text that are the wrong color. So I'm just going to highlight those and fix those. One more. There we go. Okay, so now we have our new page. We are ready to publish. So again, top right-hand corner. Great. This page now exists on the great World Wide Web, but until you add it to the navigation menu, nobody knows where to find it. So right from our new page, we're going to mouse over, click edit, and we are taken directly to our site's navigation, also known as your menu. So this is what we've got up here. And as you can see, it correlates with all of our drop downs over here. Anything flush left is a top level menu item. Anything stepped in under a folder to the right is a submenu item under that. As you'll notice, we have our gray dots here. That means that we can drag and drop each menu item to a new position. Right, so here we want to add a new menu item for that new page that we just created. So that was history of Rotary. Now, the tooltip is right below it. I generally copy and paste the same thing below. That is for accessibility. When you mouse over it, it kind of has a little pop-up of what it is. And if you have some of the visual impairment aspects enabled on your computer, it will use that to read kind of what that menu item is that they're looking at. We have our link type now. So Club Runner has a drop down of all these different types of content that you might want to link to. So you can link to a photo album or a story. So for example, if I click on story or news, it will then give me a secondary drop down, there we go, of all of the news items that I might want to link to. Each one does the same kind of thing in that it will change that list of what's available to whatever is in that link type. So our history of Rotary page is a custom page. So now I'm going to click on the drop down, find my new history of Rotary page, and I'm ready to add it. Before I do, make note of you have the ability to open this link in a new window. If you are taking someone outside of your website, even to Rotary International, or to a PDF document, you will want to tick that box to have it open in a new browser window. Otherwise, if you're staying within your own website, leave it unselected so that they just keep flowing through on the same tab. You also have the option to use a regular text link, which is what most of these are, or a primary or secondary button. That is just a button like this with a couple of different color options. In this case, we'll stick with the regular link. Now we're going to save that. And by default, it will dump our new menu item at the very bottom. There we go, history of Rotary. So from here, we're going to click on it and drag and drop it up to where we want it to go. So in this case, something under the About Us, of course, at the very top would be the right place to put it. I can get up there. There we go. About Rotary-ish stuff. So obviously put it somewhere where it makes sense. We'll put it at the very bottom because this is all district focused. All right, now that it's there, publish the menu. It politely asks you if you really want to do this. Yes, thank you very much. And we refresh over here to see at the very bottom our new menu item. There we go. There's the new page that we just created. Took probably less than 5 minutes and we're all set to go. So that's simple. You can obviously go right back to that page from here, drag and drop new things in, see what it looks like. Oh, that picture doesn't look very good there. Take it out, try something else. Very user-friendly and easy to do. So if you do have a little cache of pages within your portfolio, do try to create a page and see what you can do and just have a little bit of fun with it. The best way to learn is just to practice. So, okay. So from there, the other types of content that we would want to add to the site would be events and news stories. So we have 5 minutes left. We'll probably get through the news stories. If we get cut off, just use the same link and come right back in, and we'll finish up with in fairly good time here. So I clicked on website. This is the old version of Club Runner. So unfortunately, there are a couple things still left here. Same gray bar pops up with my 2 options. So I'm going to go to website content. And the few things that are left in the old system of Club Runner are the photo albums, the downloadable files, mostly PDF documents. You would load a document here first, and then you would link to it on your page or from your menu item. There is one of those link types is for downloadable files. So you would select that link type, and then it gives you the list of all the PDFs that you've already loaded into your document library. We're here today for our homepage stories or our news. They're really the same thing. Must have been a reason way back in Club Runner history that they were separated, but homepage, news, stories, same thing. So I click on there. The first thing I see is a list of everything that has been posted already to the site. We have the ability to click this little drop-down arrow to edit any particular existing story, which I'm going to do here. And we can see where everything is supposed to go. So if you're a little unfamiliar with posting news items, always best to check on one of the existing ones so you see where all of the pieces fit. Most importantly, you have your title. You have a date that you can actually circumvent. So if you're catching up on some of the news items that you've been kind of lacking on, you can actually go back in time and post them to the actual date where they happened. This social media share bar is not selected by default, but it's quite important. It will create a list of all the social icons for you to easily share this story across other platforms, such as Facebook or Twitter. It will automatically create a little post for you with the image, excerpt, link, etc., so that you just need to select the page to put it on. Very handy. Next, we see where the picture goes. And when we start our news story, you'll see that this is not very intuitive. It's a white block on white. And so as a result, most people miss the fact that this is where your featured image needs to go. So the brief is here. It should be just that, brief. Otherwise, if you post the whole story here, you're going to have the whole story show on the stories page and on the home page potentially. So you really want to keep it to just the first few lines of the story. And then the rest goes down here. Now in here, as you can see, you can post extra pictures. You can write a novel if you want to. You can flip over to the source code and you can embed a YouTube video down here. Sky's the limit, but keep all that stuff down here so that people only see it when they actually click on the story and your site is nice and neat and clean. You can also categorize or tag stories. So doesn't look like you're using that yet, but this can be helpful going forward so that you pull only certain categories to pages. So you can have Rotarian profiles as one category, sponsor profiles as a different category. What is Rotary to fit our new campaign? So all the articles on what Rotary is would go under that category. Then over time, as you build up these categories, you can pull just the Rotarian profiles onto one page or just the sponsor profiles onto another page. Okay, so now that we've got the lay of the land, we're going to go back and create a new story. So orange button here. And first thing we'll do is put our title. We're going to tick our social media box and we're going to add our featured image. Again, takes us to our media library where we could upload something new with this button here or pick something from the library, which we are going to do. All right, let's just grab this one. Story brief goes in here, and then the full content down here. At this point, you're ready to publish it. So you click save, and you want to display this on both the home page and on the story page. So just tick both. You can also include it in various bulletins that you're preparing if you want to do that as well. So click confirm, and away it will go. And we are going to get cut off